Hi, I'm Mark. Welcome back to Foothill Paint Fabrication. Well, today we're going to go ahead and try to bust out some parts that are almost ready for epoxy. The shop has a lot of parts in it. I've got doors over there, fenders. I just need to get some of this stuff out of the way so I have some breathing room in here. And they're almost ready to go, so there's no reason leaving them in bare steel and just sitting out. The weather's starting to change, so I need to protect what I can when I can. So we're going to be working on the windshield wiper cowl and the trunk lid. Now the trunk lid, if you guys remember before it was dipped, it had a lot of rust and stuff inside of it, and I want to try to prevent that if we can. So I've got some old primer sealer, and we're just going to pour that through the little holes and move it around and try to seal the inside of it the best we can. And the windshield wiper cowl, I've got a little special thing I want to try out on that and see if that's going to make Ruby look that much nicer when she's all done. So first thing I want to do is give you guys a quick update. I did do a patch panel on Ruby where that hole was rusted in the top. So let's go check out the work I did, and then we'll get to work on this trunk lid. Okay guys, so here's the patch panel all done. And you guys remember there was a big rust hole here, so that rust came out. It made the sheet metal pretty thin all the way out here. That's why it's so large. But I knew this was going to be a tough one. I'm not going to say it was the hardest patch panel I've ever done in my life, but it was challenging, I'll tell you, because it was totally trapped all the way. And those are tough to do when you have no room for the sheet metal to go somewhere else. So I got it done. I took a lot of pictures along the way. We'll go ahead and take a look at them. We'll talk about them. So here's the piece off the donor card before I stripped the paint off of it and got all the rust off of it. So it's just kind of roughed out right here. And just you can see underneath where Ruby was rusted pretty heavily underneath there, pitted. So I had to kind of map that out, figure out where I was going to cut. And I got the piece trimmed down a little bit farther. You can see the black lines where my ultimate cuts will be. And then I was able to try to figure it out exactly where I want to describe it and get it right. And I just slowly snuck up on it. And by doing that, I cut that piece off and then taped it back on, so it helped me align everything up to make sure I got all my distances in and out and everything. And then I had to cut a piece out of the trunk channel there so I could get that to drop in because it was pulling it too far into the trunk. And here it is after I've got the piece all cut and fit. It took a little while, but I got it to fit really nice, really nice. And here it is spot welded in. I used the MIG welder to spot weld it in. I probably should have had and just sucked it up and tried to use the TIG welder to spot weld it in because it did create a little bit of a problem when I was welding it with the TIG welder. But as you can see, I got it all welded in. And my welds are getting a little better. I'm doing a little better. Heat control's coming along and my beads are looking pretty nice. So I'm pretty happy with it. And here it is ground down. I could have been better, but I got to accept my work as it is. So I'm pretty happy with it all in all. It's going to use a little filler, but I'm pretty happy. Now let's move over to that trunk lid and see if we can't get that thing sealed up. Okay, so we've got the trunk lid flipped over, and we're going to access the sheet metal on the inside. If you guys look, you can see it down in there. It looks pretty good. Bo and those guys did a pretty good job of getting it clean. As clean as you can get for trapped sheet metal, right? So the idea is we're going to pour some primer surfacer down there, just single stage, air dry stuff. We're going to pour it down in there and just flood it, and then just rock this back and forth and try to get it to flow all over the place, and then pour some more in, and flip this over and try to get it to touch both sides, and just see what we can. It's way better than trying to stick a spray gun down in there, which it's only going to do an inch around the hole. So, and the stuff we're going to be using is Speed Prime. I've had this in the cabinet for I don't know, forever, and I just need to use it up and get rid of it. So it's not ideal for this. I mean, there's probably a better product I could buy, but this is what I got. It's better just to use it up, and it's better than nothing. So to do that, I was looking in the pantry for some cups, and I found a whole stack of these. And so we got Mr. B, Mr. Pig, and I think that is a donkey right there. So obviously these have been in a cabinet a long time. These are from one of my son's birthday parties when he was little. He's about to turn 24 years old. So these things have been in the pantry for a very long time. So I think we are going to use Mr. Piggy to try to pour some of this stuff in. So let me get some gloves on and put Mr. Piggy to work. Okay, this stuff's pretty runny. Made myself a little funnel here to protect it. And let's just go ahead and pour this in. I've got less than a quart of this stuff left. So I'm just going to kind of pour it in. This is probably, I don't know, maybe a cup, maybe three quarters of a cup. Just going to kind of pour that in. I'm just going to rock this thing back and forth a little bit. I see it through the holes. Something's happening. Oop, there it is right there. Now I have put tape over some holes that are kind of close to the lip and stuff. So, well, it's working out pretty good, guys. I can see it right here perfectly. Wow, geez, that's just flowing around in there pretty good. Let me get down on the corners. None over here, so let me pour some more in, and then we'll do the other side. Okay. I see it everywhere. It's leaking out right here, so looks like we made it everywhere. Now I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to pour everything I've got back in it. I'm going to tape up all these holes and flip the trunk lid over and see if we can get the underside of these pieces. Okay guys, got it all taped up, got the rest of the primer surfacer poured in, so let's go ahead and flip this thing over. Feels a little heavier. It was heavy anyway, so. Seen it running on the ground. That's a good thing. Try to get it to go to all the sides in the middle. Whoop, pouring out right there. Somebody missed a hole. Dang it. Well, we know it's in there. A little bit of a mess to clean up. Looks like it came out the seam right here, which is all right. I can hear it in there sloshing around, so that's a good thing. We'll pour out all the extra. Well, I made a little bit of a mess on the floor where it dribbled out, but hey, it's a paint shop. I get paint on the floor all the time. So I can tell that it made it up on this side because it's on the back side of the tape. So, and it did leak out here and there, but it's no big deal. We still have to prep this sheet metal for the epoxy or the DTM. So I did buy a true epoxy for the outside, and I do have a lower quality DTM for the inside, so I don't know what I'll use on this, but let me finish unmasking all this, and then we'll take a look at it and see how it turned out. Okay, let's check it out and check out my little spills on the ground. Got those wiped up, no problem. I think I put maybe half a cup, 3/4 of a cup too much in there, but better too much than not enough, and then just pour the rest out. So let's look down inside these holes. You can see down inside there. Looks really good. Flowed out really nice. Kind of exposed a couple of rust holes over here. You can see those little holes right there it leaked out of, but it came out really nice. Let's go over to where the latch is over here. It's a bigger hole. So yeah, it flowed out everywhere, so that's pretty good. Now, it did leak out of some of these holes when I had it flipped over. I just used some acetone on a rag and clean that up. Not to mention, it doesn't really matter. We're going to clean this, scuff it, sand it before it gets any epoxy or DTM. So I'm really happy to be able to use up that old material, seal the inside of this trunk lid, so hopefully it'll never rust again. And then we can move on and hopefully get some epoxy on this thing pretty soon. Let's go ahead and move this out into the sun, let that bake a little bit, and then we're going to move over to the windshield wiper cowl and see what we're going to do with that. Okay, the first thing we want to do on the windshield wiper cowl is adjust it so it matches where the windshield wiper trim piece is right here. So there's some tabs and some slots along here, and you can bend these tabs to raise and lower this to make it look just right. So let's slide it in, look, see how it looks. So it looks pretty good across the center right here. It actually looks really good. The idea is you want this line to match this line perfectly. So if you have to bend it up and down a little bit, so you can bend those tabs to raise and lower this, and you can also kind of bend the cowling a little bit. If it's got a little wave in it, you can, just kind of put it on your knee gently and try to get that wave out of there. But it feels like it's lining up really nice across here. I already bent these two tabs because they were kind of way off. Now this one down here on the end, if you guys can see that, but it's bouncing right there. So it's actually sitting a little high, and those tabs have a little curl in them. And so what you can do, you can make that curl more pronounced, and when it goes into the slot, it fits tighter so you don't get that bounce. So let me see if I can take that bounce out. Now also, they screw into the front right here, and you can put shims in there to raise the front of it a little bit if you need to match the hood. So the fender goes right here, then the hood sits right here, and they meet. And sometimes you're lined up to the fender, but the cowling is too low or too high. So what you want to do is you put some shims up underneath here. Obviously, we can do that way later, but the sheet metal is a little puckered from having the screws hold it down for all those years. So I'm going to go ahead and hammer and dolly that a little bit just to flatten that out, so we're starting from even. So later when we do fit up on the chassis, we're basically zero neutral, and then we can shim from there on out. So I'm going to go ahead and bend on this a little bit, see if we can get that sweetened up, and we'll check the other end, and then we'll see where we're at. Okay, I got it looking pretty good all over, except down here we got a little problem. Let's check out the good parts first. You can see it's laying really nice along that line right there. And that's what you want. It's the little things, guys, add up. So the problem down here at this end isn't a cowl problem, it's a windshield channel piece, or whatever you call that. It's got a bump in it right here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's got a bump in it. So I need to actually hammer this down, get this piece repaired before I can get this to fit properly. So we need to do a little work there, but there's a pronounced bump there, and this cowling is nice and smooth right there. So I do know that that's the problem, not the cowling. So let me hammer on that a little bit, and I'll bring you back. It's starting to look pretty good. Let's try it out. Using a rubber mallet is really your friend on a lot of these jobs. So don't think you have to use a metal hammer or a poly hammer for everything. Rubber mallet really moves some material without putting dents in things. It'll just move things gradually, and it helps you keep from making mistakes, which I'm prone to do. So that looks a lot better. We got a nice transition there, and it's lining up really nice all the way down the line. So we're looking really good on the alignment. The gap here is a little bit bigger than I like, We may end up doing something with that later, maybe. And that's just factory, you know, there's not much you can do about it. It's not like I can split this and make it bigger. It's more trouble than it's worth. And I really don't think I would weld on this edge. I might use a little bit of metal reinforced filler on here, but we'll see once we get the fenders and the hood and everything on, we'll see how everything lines up. We may need to do something a little more drastic to make it all look perfect. So, but it's looking good right now. I'm really happy. Let's move over and see about putting some screens on these little vent holes right here. Okay, we got all that straightened out so it fits really nice. And before this goes into epoxy, we will take some 80 grit and go and finish off all these lines right here. Some of these have some burrs sticking up. It's just stamped, you know, they don't care. That's pointing down, they don't care. But for what we're about to do, it does matter. So if you guys are familiar with a GTO, a 67 GTO grill, it's got a mesh insert on it. And it's kind of, I like the way it looks. And so what I'd like to do is reproduce that throughout Ruby. So what I have here is some stainless steel. This is 5 mesh. And I bought a couple of different meshes, just one sheet of each, to try to see which one was the right scale. And so that's what we got here. This is stainless steel weaved mesh to match the grill on Ruby. So my idea is, and the grill on those, the mesh goes diagonally, right? So we're going to turn this at an angle. We're going to cut it to fit and put it on here so it shows through on the other side. So let me grab a piece. I'll flip this over and I'll zoom you in quick and let me show you what it's going to look like. Okay, so this is the look I'm going for. It's kind of hard to see it in there. I think you can see it. So it'll be, the mesh will run diagonally across here. This has a little bit of a curve to it, but I think we can make it work. So the idea is to cut pieces to fit in here. Now I could not get a sheet big enough to do this all in one piece because running it at a 45, the sheet would have had to been, I don't know, it was like 8 by 4 or 5, and I wasn't willing to buy a 50-foot roll to do this, so I bought some smaller sheets and we'll piece them in here. So I think it's going to look really good. I'm contemplating using some sort of either transparent powder coating or transparent paint to make this kind of a black chrome look. And I think that'll look really nice up in there. So let's flip it back over and see if we can figure out how to piece all these together and how we're going to attach them. Okay, I think our best bet is just to start at one end and work our way down. Now, I was thinking about welding some sort of little tabs on to slide this stuff under, doing something along this edge and have it clip in. But the more I messed with it, the more I realized, why don't we just use adhesive and basically, glue these on. Once this piece is done, painted, and completely done, then we take the pieces we've made, and then we just put a little bead of some 3M adhesive on each side right here, and just basically put it down in there and put a little bit of weight on it and let it dry and let it harden, and just work our way down. So the problem is piecing them together, there's a seam on each one. Luckily, I think these are just wide enough to hide the seam in between each one. So I've got a piece here, and I think we'll just start. I got to cut around here because this sticks out. Of course, that's where the windshield wiper arm comes through, and I need to leave enough room for that mechanism. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to lay this out with some tape. We'll go over and cut this with the cutoff wheel, just real carefully, and then we'll just work our way down. Okay, I got a cut. I cut a notch in it for the windshield wiper arm mechanism, and I've got it so it just splits the difference on this one right here, so we can kind of hide those seams. So that sits on there pretty good. Let me put a couple of pieces of tape on it. We'll flip it over and see how it looks. Okay, here it is. Looks pretty good. I like it. Got the diamond pattern in there. And it's going to keep all those leaves. I don't know if you guys remember, but that area down there was just full of eucalyptus leaves. Not that Ruby's going to be left out anymore, but That should stop any type of debris or anything from getting down inside that channel. It'll let water through, some fine dust and dirt, but other than that, I can just vacuum everything else that lands in there. So I think that's going to work out. Let's cut a few more and see if we can piece them across here. Okay, last piece. It would have been nice to do this out of one piece, but unfortunately, you don't make it at a 45, so they make it straight. So to get this would have taken a pretty big piece. Okay, let's see how she looks. Oh, that looks pretty good, even with all that tape on it. Let's go out in the sun and take a good look at it. Okay, guys, looks pretty good. I'm liking it. Just picture all this in red and that back behind there, either plain shiny stainless like it is, or possibly with like a tinted clear over the top, like a black chrome look. So I think that looks really good. Worth the effort. We'll have to glue it on once it's all done, everything's painted. Okay, we got it installed. Get a little look at it. I think it looks pretty good. Really good. Might be a bear to glue all that in, but I think it'll be worth it. I really like the way this is looking, guys. I'm really happy. It's working out just the way I thought it would. Now, I've been thinking about doing this for years and years. To give you an idea how long, there was no Amazon when I thought this up. I couldn't find this mesh I liked. And then I was searching through Amazon, strikes again, stainless steel weaved mesh with a bunch of different sizes. So I was able to find the one I really like, and I think it's going to work out great when it's all done. We also got the trunk lid sealed on the inside. Not something I was planning on doing from the beginning, but it's one of those things, woke me up in the middle of the night, that's a pretty good idea. And I'm glad we're able to get that sealed up too. So 2 more things, getting that much closer to spraying some epoxy on them. So that's going to be coming up. I've got a few more small little items I want to get ready too. Roll Ruby out of here and get some epoxy going too. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for joining me here at Foothill Paint Fabrication. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Mash that bell and drop me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. We'll see you on the next one.